Hello, everybody. Welcome to our show, Face to Face with ITSM Heroes. And today we have the superhero of IT service management, Stuart Rance, author of many books in IT service management. Okay, so here I don't want you to wait anymore. So let's welcome Stuart Rance. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Thank you very much for that.
It's a great pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure and to get to know about you. So I will not take your time anymore. Here we go. So can you please tell us about yourself, your books, and how did you start your career? How did you get into IT service management?
Gosh, lots of questions. I will try and bundle them all together and answer it as quickly as I can so we can get on to some other topics. I run my own company doing consulting, training and writing in both IT service management and information security management. I have what's probably the most fun job in the world. I just get up each morning and do something different every day, and I really love it.
Mm-hmm.
Books. I was the author of the 2011 edition of ITIL Service Transition. I always feel a bit of a fraud because it's largely written by Shirley Lay and Ivan for the 2007 edition, which I simply revised and updated. But I think that's true with all editions of ITIL, that we just build on what's gone before. So to say I'm the author of one of the books, I think loses the fact that they've come out of a whole community than individual things, group practices, all of the best practice. And then I also was the lead author for Resilia, Cyber Resilience Best Practice, also published by Axelos, the people who publish ITIL, well, who own ITIL. And that's a book about cyber resilience based on the same ideas as ITIL, the idea of having an enterprise management framework that you fit into. So unlike other stuff that I read about cyber resilience and information security, it tends to focus on the technology. Resilia tends to focus on the need for a management system, on what that might look like and how it would work and how you integrate it with all the things that a business has to do.
Okay, that's great. So can we get to know about you? Like, how did you start your career, and how did you get into IT service management?
My career started a very long time ago. I'm not going to know how long. I was a physics teacher at one time, and then I applied to what was then Digital Equipment Corporation to be a trainee service engineer. And I started out in teletypes and terminals, and was gradually promoted till I was mending quite big and complex computers. This was way before these existed, and eventually I became quite heavy third-level support for both hardware and software, a range of different systems. Whilst I was doing that, I found out that however good the hardware and the software were, a lot of customers were still very dissatisfied with what was delivered. And I had the hardware and software. A lot of customers were still very happy, and it took very long to work out that it was that the happy ones were the ones who were managing their incidents, managing their problems, managing their changes, managing their customers, and understood that the technology was really there to create value for customers. So I kind of got into service management, seeing how my customers were using service ideas to create value for their customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. So can you please tell us the history of ITIL? Because you have 25 plus years of experience, so you should have seen the metamorphosis of ITIL in a very a meticulous way. So can you please tell us the history of ITIL?
I'm probably not this person to talk about ITIL. My first involvement was right at the end of the ITIL version 1 time. In fact, one of my ITIL exams were on version 2, just was released. I think I might have done my foundation training. No, I don't think I did. I think my foundation training was on version 2 in the late 1990s. I know quite a bit about ITIL, but only because I've spoken to people like David Will and Ivan McFarlane, Price, and other people who were around in those early UK government meetings when they first started to put ITIL together. But I think you should get them on your sessions and talk to them, because I don't like to give third-hand information.
Okay. So can you at least give us some glimpse on the improvements that have happened from V2 to V3?
Yes, actually, I feel quite passionate about this because I've seen, I'm just listening to a nasty echo on the sound, I hope it's recording okay. I've seen people describing the difference between V2 and V3 in terms of the life cycle. Yes, the life cycle of strategy, design, transition, operation, and continual improvement is important, but it's not the important difference. I've seen people seeing the difference between ITIL V2 and V3 in terms of the processes and the name of the processes, which, as far as I'm concerned, is about the least interesting thing. For me, the really big change at that time, and we're talking 2007 here, was not that detailed content, but was the really high-level conceptual idea. V2, the message of ITIL was very much service level agreement with your customer. You manage that service agreement. You have the processes that enable you to deliver the measurable things in the service level agreement, and then you've done your job. The difference ITIL V3 was the concept of IT is there to create value. It's there so that you can work with your customers to help them achieve the outcomes, manage their risks, manage their costs, and create the value they want for their customers. And meeting a service level agreement might be a way of helping to contribute to that. But meeting your SA is never, ever, ever enough. The only thing enough is meeting IT in a way that delivers customers. The get across because it's much conceptual. I can teach it to you in 30 seconds, but actually getting it into people's heads is really hard.
Okay. Well, we have some, participants here probably. Next question to you would be: you have written the book ITIL Service Transition. So how did it happen actually? I mean, how did OGC approach you to write a book on service transition? How did it all happen? Can you please?
So back in about 2004, 2005, the OGC put out a call for people to write a glossary for ITIL V2. ITIL V2 already published, but it didn't have a glossary. They were thinking of writing V3, and they wanted to start by creating a glossary for what already existed to be an input to V3. And that was a public call, and I worked with a good friend of mine who worked for HP at the time, Ashley Hanna, and I put in a proposal, a formal proposal to OGC, because we got a lot of experience in technical writing for international audiences. And, we bid for it like you bid for any piece of work, and it was awarded. So that was my first relationship with OGC, was to write the glossary for ITIL V2.
Okay.
And as a result of that, they got back to us and asked to also do the glossary for V3, which was more of a challenge because what we had to do was read each of the new ITIL V3 books and understand what words changed their meanings, what new terms have been introduced. And we kept reading new drafts of the books and finding new terms. And it was very, very lost reading because they didn't give us a lot of time.
Okay. That's great. So can you please tell us what were the challenges that you faced while writing, the service transition book?
For me, on a personal level, the biggest challenge was a lack of freedom to do what I wanted to do. In Stuart Rance's ITIL Service Transition book, the OGC's transition, they had a specific list of changes they wanted made that had come from the community. They had a website people could put in change requests. Some of the requests have been approved. They gave me a list of 300, maybe 500, I didn't count them, changes I'd like to make to the book, and I was allowed to propose my own changes, some of which were accepted and some of which rejected. But there was negotiation and a lot of people involved. It wasn't like any other piece of writing I've done before or since. But it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Okay. So what was the time duration that, or what was the time that you have spent in writing this book?
In elapsed time, gosh, it would have been a year. It was a very long time. And in terms of hours of my effort, I hate to think, but I will say that you take the amount that HP were picking me to do that and divide it by the number of hours, it comes to a very small number.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you were working at that point of time. You were working in Compaq or HP. I
It was
think it was.
HP at that time. Yeah.
Okay. So you were working in HP, and also you had time to write the wonderful book, ITIL. How did you make time to write book on service transition?
It was a challenge. I had to manage my time. I had to negotiate time with the manager. I ended up doing work at weekends and evenings and making time up. That had me a reasonable amount of time towards it, but I still had a day job that I had to do.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay, so I would like to know whether if there would be anything like ITIL V4. Okay, because we've seen V2, V3, and you've seen ITIL V1. So I would like to know if there is anything like ITIL V4. What are the things that's going to happen in V4 if it's not confidential?
Confidential, because I don't know. I can tell you my opinion based on what I picked up from public places, but I can't tell you what OGs or capitalists or actually his intentions are in relation to it.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
I think that the people who own ITIL have understood the transition in the market from big waterfall type projects to much more working. And I can't imagine another 2-year waterfall development will ever happen again, because for the same reason as it's suitable for most IT projects, it's probably not suitable for development of best practice.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were really in the future, I'd expect them to use an agile approach. In other words, producing small incremental changes and building something of value over time, with each increment being valuable in itself. But that is what I would expect for how I see the industry changing. So no more ITIL V4, just potentially ITIL publications coming out.
Okay. So my next question would be, as per your experience, I know this question is a very silly question, but then still I want to ask this. As per your experience, what is the most important process in ITSM and why?
People are always surprised by my answer to this, because they think it depends. Because what does a consultant say? Well, I don't like depends. I will tell you. The most important process, and the one that everybody should focus on, everybody puts something in place, even if they're a very technology-focused IT organisation.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is understand your vision, understand where you are, decide where you're trying to get to, and plan some improvement. That's continuous service. It would be to say start with anything different, because how would you know? And if you're not doing such improvement, then get on with it, because it's a huge opportunity to make a big difference to the value, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There. Clear and unambiguous answer from a consultant.
Sorry, I wasn't able to hear you. Can you please say that again?
I said, there you are, a clear and unambiguous answer for a consultant.
Yes. Okay. So my next question would be, if you have to implement a specific, ITSM process in an organization, what would be your strategic plan? Like, how would you start it? When you first meet the customer, can you please explain it at a bird's eye view?
That's what I do when I go to customers, because it's usually the same. Assuming I'm getting involved with a significant project, the first thing I do is say, please take me to see business operation. I don't know what I'm going to see. Start by showing me how you business operate. Let me talk to some people that are earning money for you. And then look at IT and see how it supports them. I always start that way.
Okay. Okay, that's great. And my next question would be, do you think Cobbett would anyways be a competitor for ITIL?
In the short term, both exist at the moment. I think they coexist very well. I think as a framework, Cobbett probably has a better structure. It's a better way of taking the high-level governance view of what IT does. But I think it offers the practical, detailed guidance on how to do things. ITIL for things, different purposes at the moment. As a moment, because really either of them could add aspects that would make them more.
Okay. So my next question would be something, which is very much operational for the ITSM consultants. So when should an organization really think of implementing an ITSM tool? Would you like to tell us what are the things that one should look at while selecting an ITSM tool?
I'm not a tools expert. I know that most organizations use tools to manage their incidents and problems and changes. I once went to look at an organization that had a pencil and paper service desk. It was quite interesting because after I put the service desk for a few months, I had to leave the room and go and laugh quietly somewhere because I'd never seen a pencil and paper service desk before. But as I watched them over a few days, I realised it was the right thing for them. It was a big organisation, had huge turnover in terms of dollar value, but the service desk only had 8 people that were on them, which was the service desk of a big bank. And they took an incident. So the person who answered the phone, incident manager, they wrote down on a piece of paper, and they kept the piece of paper in their hand until there was the incident. And they wrote various people they needed to talk to and got the incident fixed first. And then they entered the data in a spreadsheet for analysis. So you need a tool to make you more effective, to automate things.
Yeah.
But you don't need a tool to do the job. It's all to scale up.
Are you able to hear me, Stuart?
Yes, although I got a big echo on the line when I'm talking.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry for that. I don't know why there's bad internet connection today.
Oh, I hope it's not recording the echo.
Yeah, I don't think the echo is getting recorded. Okay. Well, so my next question would be, can you please give us some detail, some kind of overview on the cybersecurity, the latest book or the latest framework that you have worked upon?
Yeah, lovely. So it's called Resilia, Cyber Resilience Best Practice. I heard it described by somebody in Axelos today, cyber resilience based on ITIL, which I thought was a lovely name for it. So the reason he said that was because, like ITIL, it follows a cycle of strategy, design, transition, operation, and improvement. Like ITIL, it's based on understanding that you need a management system, and the focus of the book is very much building an enterprise-wide management system for managing your information, which would include aspects of IT service management, aspects of cyber resilience, and aspects of business management as well. Cyber resilience is not a separate information security management system for managing information security, but built into how you run business. And focus is very much on balance.
Okay.
3 areas of balance that Resilia really uses. One is the need to balance between people, process, and technology. You get that from ITIL, and you'll hear it in Resilia, and you'll hear it in many places. And that's important because we see a lot of security initiatives that focus so much on technology that they forget the people process aspects. Second area where we talk about balance between protect, detect, and correct. The history of information security has been very much about protect, stop things. We've got to a point now where we recognise you can't always do that. So what's really, really important is that you quickly detect when things go wrong, and then you respond. So we've had a number of major incidents over the last few years where, for example, point of sales terminals were hacked at a major US company, and it happened in April and wasn't detected until September. For that period of many months, every time a credit card went through one of those terminals, the data was siphoned off. Getting your point of sale infected was unfortunate. Detecting it for months and months and months and months whilst the credit card details cycled off was where the cost and the real damage happened. So detection and then correction is just as important as prevention, and that's the second area of balance. And then the third area of balance, which I often see security failing to understand, is the need for balance between cyber resilience and business opportunities. That we can't afford to make security so good that we can't do business anymore. The more and more you tighten things up, the less agile you get. You know what happens? People work around it. They circumvent it. They do what they need to do to run the business, and that means that the cyber resilience people think everything's fine, but it ain't, because people are ignoring them. And probably that's the biggest and most important balance between risks and opportunities. And if you get it right, it's a hard one, right? And if you want to know more, read the book, come on the main course. In June this year was released the Resilia publication, the exams and training courses from 4 vendor-produced accredited training. So a whole lot came out altogether. I was pleased with that.
Interesting, and I think it is very much necessary for the current IT organizations. So I will definitely order a copy, and I will also suggest it to my organization. So
the target audience is definitely not information security people, though it will be of great interest to them, especially as they're thinking about how to get ideas across to the whole of the organization rather than keep them in a techie enclave. The target for this is anybody who is responsible for information within business, and especially the IT people.
Okay. So my next question would be, what would be your advice for ITSM consultants like me, to do good consulting work?
I'll tell you what was the hardest lesson for me to learn as a consultant, and I still get it wrong sometimes.
Okay.
To listen. When I am doing consulting, I think that ideally, when I'm working with my customers, I should spend 70% of my time listening, 50% talking. I still don't get it right. I'm about 50-50 now. I used to be 80% talking and 20% listening. It's so easy to assume, that this customer's like all the others that you've worked with, and they never are. You need to understand how they're creating value. You need to understand their customers care, what competencies they've already. You know a lot. Actually, coming up with solutions is easy. You're a consultant. You've been in lots of organisations. You know what works. What's difficult is understanding this customer, and that involves listening.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. So, Stuart, can you please tell us about your company, Optimal Service Management, and what are the services that you're offering?
Yeah, basically, optimal service management offers me, which actually that's trivial, but what I mean by that is the range of things I can do, and I can work with other people when we need more than one of us, but basically what we do is writing,
Mm-hmm.
blogs, white papers, books,
Mm-hmm.
presentations, all sorts of stuff people pay to have done in both service management and information security management,
Mm-hmm.
and consulting in both of those areas and in both of those areas. So optimalservicemanagement.com, have a look and you'll see a full description of all my services, but it's basically any aspect of consulting, training or writing in either IT service management or information security management.
Okay. So that's it, Stuart. Thank you very much for your time. It was a real great pleasure to have you here. So have a good evening.
Thank
And
Kiran, that was entertaining.
thank you. Thank you very much. That's it from our side. Stay tuned for our next program, Face to Face with ITSM Heroes. And I'm extremely sorry, connection, for the discrepancies in the internet connection. Stay tuned for the next program. Thank you. Bye bye.